Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to everyone joining in. For the folks who are on the East Coast of the United States, happy afternoon. For the folks on the West Coast, just good afternoon now. For the folks who are east of the US, thank you for joining us in your evening. My name is Charlie Greene. I'm the founder and CEO of Remento, and it's a pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you for making the time to spend part of your day with us. It's a great privilege to be with you all, and we've got a lot of really wonderful content to cover today in our webinar. Before we get started, I want to let everyone on this call know that there is going to be a recording of this webinar that gets created, and we're going to be sending that out via email as a link. So you'll be able to view this entire webinar on YouTube, and you can share it with friends and family or rewatch it yourself if there's content that you want to rewatch. We've got a really exciting agenda today, 4 parts to be specific. I want to start out by sharing a bit of the context about why we set out to create Remento in the first place. After that, we're going to do a deep dive into how Remento actually works, from selecting prompts to recording stories to preparing your book for print. And we are so honored, deeply honored, to be joined by Dr. Daniel Rubin, PhD, or Dr. Dan, as he likes to introduce himself. He's the author of a book called Living with Purpose, who has dedicated his work to helping older adults live with purpose and create meaningful legacies. He's also a Remento storyteller and is going to be reflecting on how both using Remento himself and encouraging others has become part of his legacy work. And finally, we have reserved time for a live Q&A. And so that's going to happen towards the end of the webinar, and we will be inviting each of you to share the questions you have about our product, whether you are a new storyteller or whether you're thinking about using Remento with you or someone that you love in the future. And so with that administrative business out of the way, I'd love to transition over to an overview of why we set out to create Remento in the very first place. You know, each of us on our team have a very different reason for being excited about the mission that we have at Remento. And for me personally, my own passion for what we have built stems directly from personal experience. It was about 9 years ago when my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I remember feeling absolutely terrified after hearing the news that she may never have a chance to meet her grandchildren. And, you know, me personally, having lost my dad just a couple of days before my 10th birthday, I knew firsthand how painful it is to wake up one day and be without someone that you love so much. And I also knew how much I would have given in all those years after my dad had passed just to hear his voice one more time. And so right before my mom started her chemotherapy, we sat down together to record some of what I expected to be her best stories. We were, in effect, creating a time capsule designed as a way to introduce her to the family she may never have a chance to meet. And frankly, what I thought I'd capture in those recordings were the stories I had heard my entire life growing up. But what blew me away was just how much I learned for the very first time, from the moments in her career that she never talked about to the stories of falling in love with my dad that just simply never came up in conversation. And I remember as I reflected on those conversations, I couldn't help but think to myself, you know, why had it taken a cancer diagnosis for me to really get to know my mom in this much more meaningful and personal way? And why, with multiple cameras in my pocket at any given time, had I never thought to record those stories for the future, just in case I never had the chance to do so? And it was from reflecting on that experience that the vision for Remento was ultimately born, which is to make it incredibly easy for families to celebrate and preserve and protect the stories of their family, by making it delightfully easy to document the memories that make each of us who we are. Now, as many of you know, our flagship product is the Remento book, which we refer to as our no-write memoir. And that's because the final product is a hardcover, color-printed keepsake full of life stories created without having to write a single word. And so with that introduction behind us, I'd love to now transition into a deeper dive of exactly how Remento works. For those of you who have been using Remento extensively, this is going to be a bit of a review. And for those who are considering using Remento in your own family, I hope it is an opportunity to make clear that what we're trying to do is make sure that the journey of preserving a legacy is as simple and straightforward as possible. And so to get started, we'll begin on the Remento website. You can just go to www.remento.co, or you can just Google the word Remento if you prefer. And from this screen, I'm going to press login in the upper right-hand corner of my browser, and that's going to invite me to sign into my fully private Remento account. Now, for many things in your life electronically, you need a password. But at Remento, we actually don't use passwords at all, but instead rely on the security of your email to protect your account. So once you type in your email address, you're going to receive an email with a link to sign in. And then you can click that link in your email and you'll be logged directly into your private Remento website. And that's where I've landed right here. Now, it's worth noting that the experience I'm walking through is on a computer, but everything that I'm doing, you can also do on any device, including a laptop, an iPad, or a smartphone. Now, right now, I'm looking at the prompts page, and that's because I'm a host for my mom, Claudette, who I purchased Remento for. And because I have done that, it means that I have the opportunity to customize her experience by selecting prompts that she's going to respond to over the course of a year, and she'll have access to be able to share her stories behind those storytelling prompts. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Prompts, and you'll see that there are a few options of prompts that I can add. The first is using questions as a prompt. The second is to use photos to inspire memories. And the third is to invite family to vote on the prompts. I'm going to click Add Questions, and I'll see that I'm going to be taken to a list of questions that have been personalized for my mom specifically. All of them have been generated using the answers I provided about my mom when I first set up her Remento account. I can also select from the trending prompts on Remento. These are the most popular questions that are asked of our Remento storytellers. And then finally, I can review the Remento question bank. And this is a curated list of hundreds of questions that have been developed by experts, sorted into different categories. I also want to point out that I can write my own questions as well. You can do that by pressing the pencil in the top right part of your screen. Now let's go ahead and add a photo-based prompt. And so to do that, I can tap Add Prompts and select Upload a Photo. And then I can see that there are actually a few different ways to add a photo. I can add a photo from Facebook or from Instagram. Photos can be added via direct connection from either my Google Drive account or my Dropbox account. Or I can manually upload a photo, whether that's saved on my phone or on my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and manually add a photo that I have on my desktop. This is actually an image that I just took of a photo that was sitting on my desk. It's a picture of my parents from their wedding day. And now that it's uploaded, I'll edit the question to read what's happening in this photo and what makes it so special. And then I'm going to go ahead and add it to my mom's queue. Now, this view shows my mom's upcoming prompts, and Remento makes it really easy to rearrange the order if I want. I can simply drag and drop to change the order. And now these are all prompts that I've added for my mom. But if I had bought Remento to document my own stories, the process here is going to be the exact same. And by the way, my mom is set up to receive one of these prompts per week, but either of us can change this setting to be more frequent on whatever days of the week that she likes. Also, when you click Add Prompts again, there's an option to create a poll so family and friends can vote on exactly what topics they most want to hear about. And speaking of our family, my sister actually has a ton of photos of my mom's childhood, so I'm going to invite her to add some of those to my mom's queue as well. And to do that, all I have to do is navigate to the Invite Family button at the top of the screen. And then I can invite her by email or just copy that link and drop it into the family chat. That's going to make her a collaborator on my mom's project, which means she can pick prompts and will be notified every time my mom creates a new story. Now, speaking of new stories, I want to bring you over to what my mom will experience as a storyteller, which is the same experience whether she had received Remento as a gift or had purchased the product for herself. You can see in this screen, we are looking at her iPhone, and she's just received a new message from Remento that it's time to record a new story. For the record, my mom is signed up for both SMS text messages and also emails. So she's going to receive a notification when it's time to record via both text and email. Now, when she clicks on that notification, you can see that she's going to be brought directly to her email, where she's got an email from Remento letting her know that it's time to record. Here you can see that she's got a preview of the question being asked, which in this case includes a photo. So she'll go ahead and click Share My Memory, and she'll be brought directly into the Remento recording experience. Now, you'll notice that she's greeted by name without any logins or passwords or downloads. And that's because the recording experience is accessible via the secured link that she was sent, meaning she can start her private recording in only a few taps. And this experience can be done on any device whatsoever, including your smartphone or your tablet or your laptop. Now, at this point, she can either change her prompt or she can continue recording this one. Here, she'll go ahead and press Next Step. And now she's got the option to tell Remento if she wants to record via either video or audio only. Now, one of the things that we always hear from our storytellers is how they don't want to be recorded on video. Sometimes it's a bad hair day, and sometimes they don't think they have the right lighting, but there always seems to be a reason. And that is such a shame, because when we talk with our families, what they tell us is how much they love the video recordings. So to all my storytellers who are out there, imagine being able to have video of your great-grandparents talking about the memories that define them. Think about what that would mean to you, and in turn, consider recording video for your family so that they will have it into the future. So my mom, who I bullied into always doing video, is going to select video and is now going to be asked to grant permission to Remento to make sure that we can actually use her device to capture recordings. So she taps turn on camera and now has the ability to allow permissions for Remento to access her device. She's done that. So now it's time to confirm that she's happy with the way that she looks. And because she is, she can go ahead and press next step. And now whenever she is ready to get started, she can press the big green button and begin recording. So she presses start recording. And after a 3-second countdown, she is now recording. Now, you can record, in this case, for up to 30 minutes. And it's really important to say that there's no perfect length. Because there's a photo here, I want to show you that she can press the expand button on the upper right part of her photo to be able to see it in full screen. So she'll go ahead and tap that button. And now we can see that the photo's in full screen. You can see all of the vivid details. And to exit the screen, she just presses the X in the top right corner. Now, if for whatever reason my mom wanted to pause her recording, she just needs to hit the pause button in the bottom. And that's perfect if she wants to get a drink of water or collect her thoughts or answer the door or anything else. When she's ready to resume, she can just tap resume, which is going to allow her to continue recording. And now that she's done, she can press stop. Now on this screen, she can watch the recording. She can decide if she wants to retake the recording or she can submit it. Now, in this case, my mom did a perfect job, and so she's going to press submit, and that is it for her story. And as a quick reminder, she can record as many stories as she wants within her 1 year of access to Remento, and there's no limit. And if at the end of a year she wants more time to be able to record more, we can make that accessible very easily as well. Now, if she wants to, she does have a few other options. First, she can record another story. She can catch up on prompts that she may have missed. She can respond to prompts that are trending on Remento, or she can add her own prompts. And then second, she can also review her stories, which is going to move her from this recording experience back to the website where her stories actually live. Now, let's bring it back into my world as my mom's host. Because she has submitted a recording, I, along with all of our collaborators, receive an email letting us know that there's a new story to check out. You can see that Remento has automatically summarized the content of her recording and is inviting her to play the entire recording. And of course, I want to watch this. So I click the button and I'm brought back into my private Remento website. And look right here. Here you have it. On the left side, you can see my mom speaking about the photograph. And on the right side, you can see that Remento has taken her recording and transcribed it. You can see that the first sentence reads almost exactly the way the words came out of her mouth. And that's because when I set up my Remento account for my mom, I indicated that I wanted Remento to provide her words exactly as she said them. If I click on the edit button on the bottom right, I can now see that I'm in the writing assistant. And I can click edit story manually, as you can see, and I can edit the text if I'd like to make changes to both the body and the title. So I'll go ahead and change some punctuation here. But let's say the transcript of this video is feeling really long, perhaps, and maybe a bit scattered. My mom is generally pretty direct when she speaks, but sometimes she goes a little bit longer. And so I can go ahead and click edit, and it's going to bring me back to the writing assistant. Right now, you can see that the cleaned transcript is selected, but what I can do here that's really special is I can change the story perspective to either the first or the third person. Right? So if I select first person, that means that Remento's speech to story technology is going to take her words and turn them into a polished story written as if she was writing them herself. So I'll go ahead and press first person, and you'll see that Remento is giving me an option to select the length of the story that I want. I'm going to opt to make that story a little bit longer. And then I'll press generate preview. And what Remento is now doing is turning that transcript into a restructured written narrative using my mom's language and tone and word choice, written as if she had sat down and written it herself. You can see that the first line reads, "This photo was taken on the happiest day of my life up to that point." Now let's go ahead and see what the third person looks like, just so you can see it for yourself. I'll click the edit button and I can see that Remento is going to go ahead and generate a new version of the story that's written in the third person. You'll see that it's going to be about the same length as before, but includes a new title, and the story is now written as if my mom had hired a biographer to write about her, Claudette. So you can see it starts off by saying it was the happiest day of Claudette's life, at least up until that point. This writing is now in the third person. And for this story specifically, I really like the way it's written here, so I'll go ahead and click save. And now all of these changes have been saved to the account. And as a reminder, all of this is completely editable. Now, this story already has a photo, but let's say there was one more that I want to add. I can go ahead and press add photos, and then I can find another photo on my desktop and I can add that to my story directly. In this case, I've got a photo of the church where my parents got married. And so I'm going to go ahead and add that to the story alongside the photo of them actually getting married. Now, once I have the photo uploaded, all I have to do is press done. And now that has been saved right along the first photo in the story itself. Now, my mom has shared a really beautiful story here, and I want to let her know how much sharing that story really means to me. So to share a reaction, I can simply click on the heart icon at the bottom of the screen, and doing so is going to allow me to send my mom a reaction message about the story she's just told, which will be emailed directly to her. There we go, and send. Now, my mom is a very prolific Remento storyteller, and she's been using the platform for a while. So if I close out of this page and head over to the story section of the private website, you can see that she has recorded dozens of stories at this point. Some of them are from her childhood, others are from more recent moments, including a photo of her dropping me off at college. And we're actually going through a lot of images of family heirlooms around our home that she's been telling the stories about. In her case, I uploaded most of these photos to the prompt. I uploaded most of these photos into the prompts for her, meaning that she was actually looking at these photos as she was telling these stories. But photos can also be uploaded to the story after it's been recorded too, which is a really nice way to bring the story to life. Now, speaking of ways to bring the stories to life, it's time to go ahead and create our book. So I can press order books on the left side of the screen and see them be brought to a screen where I can customize the story, customize the cover of my mom's stories. On this page, I can add a photograph to the front cover. I can customize the text, and I can also change the color of the book. And then I can press next. And here I'll have the opportunity to customize the inside of the book. I can specifically exclude stories from being included. I can reorder the stories, and I can also drag some of them up and drag others down. In my case, I'm trying to make this book roughly chronological for her. And then I can tap next to confirm that I'm ready to move forward and preview a copy of her book. Okay, so on the right, you can see that there is a preview of exactly how the book is going to be laid out. We've got a table of contents at the top, and then each chapter includes a QR code. And what is really special about Remento Books is that when you scan the QR code printed inside, it's going to play the recording that was used to write that story. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. Here we've got my mom's Remento book printed out. You can see it's been printed in color. It's 8 inches by 10 inches, and it's printed on double thick paper. And if anyone scans the QR code at the start of each chapter, they'll be able to play the recording that was used to write that story. And that way, no one in your family, whether it's next year or 100 years from now, is ever going to be without those stories or the voices behind each and every single one of them. So that concludes a walkthrough of how our product works. As a reminder, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always reach out to the customer support team by emailing support@remento.co, and they will be able to answer any questions that you have. Now, next up, we have a guest whose work aligns beautifully with Remento's mission. Through his book, Living with Purpose, and his work helping older adults embrace life's chapters, Dr. Daniel Rubin has inspired countless numbers of people to reflect on the lives they've lived and the legacy they hope to leave behind. What I personally love most about Dr. Dan is that he's not just talking about this notion of a living legacy. He is creating one himself, using Remento to preserve stories of his family each and every day. Dr. Dan is a Harvard graduate with a PhD from NYU and has had a remarkable career prior to his retirement as a senior scientist, as a director of an AIDS agency, and as an educator at Valencia College in Orlando, Florida, before, again, he retired. And so with that being said, I am incredibly excited to welcome Dr. Dan to our webinar. Dr. Dan, it's great to have you with us today.
and a great gratitude moment. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I, I'm, I'm overwhelmed and at the same time delighted to be here to share my experience with Remento and how meaningful and a gift it's been for me and continues to be, and answer any questions that people have about how easy it is to make it work. There's
What?
my book. There's my
And
book.
there,
So we're
everyone, we'll be
so we're going
including
to
a
be
link.
talking about, yeah.
I was just going to say for everyone who's who just saw the book, we will include a link to the book itself if you're interested in buying a copy for yourself. I have a feeling you might be. Dr. Dan, I love the work that you're doing around this concept of living legacies, and I also love how you've thought about using Remento to be able to advance that mission. I wonder if you could tell us the story of how you came to care about living legacies and how Remento came to play a part of that.
Okay, well, briefly, I've been, since I quote retired from teaching, and gifted with this vitality and energy for the last couple of years. I've been going around to senior assisted living facilities with a purpose and a mission to empower them to live more fully with joy and fulfillment and purpose. And it's been an exciting journey so far. And more recently, I got this idea. There's more that I can give them that'll get them off the schneid to that'll eliminate this resignation that's an epidemic in some senior communities of this is the end. There's no more to life. I'm just putting in time because it's not true. And my message is there's best is yet to come. And more recently, the idea of creating a living legacy became for me part of my purpose, and it's had several different results. In fact, that keeps growing as I listen to you. The first one is when I got this idea about creating a living legacy as something to suggest to seniors that they could do. It wasn't magic, but it was a miracle. Within a couple of weeks of me getting that idea, my son, maybe he's psychic or whatever, he gifted me with Remento. And it was exactly what I wanted to have. And it's so easy to use. It's allowed me to do what I've been doing now for quite a while. I'm up to about 100 videos, and there's more to come. I'm be adding more pictures. Anyway, it's become an integral part of my purpose, and it's had several different additional side effects. And this is true for anybody who uses Remento for that purpose, for sharing and leaving not just a legacy of property and money, but leaving by a living memory of who you were, what you did, and how you came to be that will last forever, that your children want to know, that your grandchildren want to know. And the other thing I learned in the process is that it's suddenly in doing this, I realized that it's an additional, this is telling me that I matter. My children, Randy, who gave me this gift, is saying, you matter, Dad. We want to know more about you. And I'll end this answer with one more thing, and that is why it's so exciting and appealing to me is I don't have that about my grandparents. I know I'm embarrassed almost to say I don't really know much about their lives. I only saw them a few times. And frankly, it's also true of my dad and mom. They grew up in the Depression. They weren't, like sharing a lot of what it was like growing up. So I'm starting this precedent for my family that I hope others in the family will take advantage of. Give the Remento gift and start creating a living legacy. It's so easy and so powerful. And you've just heard how easy and powerful it is to use. You'll be glad you did. It's part of my message, which is the best is yet to come.
And what a powerful message that truly is. The best. The best is yet to come. One of the things that we've reflected on at Remento quite often is this notion of planning for the future as being something that a lot of people think about on a pretty transactional basis related to developing a trust or a will or thinking about medical directives, perhaps pre-planning for a funeral or a cremation. These are things that, at least in American culture, have become expectations of responsible folks as they age. And yet you mentioned, I think, really, really eloquently, there's a difference between inheritance and a living legacy. I wonder if you could talk about what is that difference and why is it important that we think about both of them at the same time?
Well, I'm going to advertise a book I haven't written yet that is a better answer to what you said than I can think of. The book is going to be called Before You Get There. Because, see, I'm 87 and I'm there. I didn't plan for all that was going to happen. This is not just planning your retirement, financial stability, knowing your health is going to change and make sure you're covered with health insurance. There's so much more to what happens when you get there. And it's important to know in advance. Then you can plan for it. And certainly, you don't have to wait till you're 87 years old to start creating a living legacy. That's part of what those golden years are about. It's more than just retirement. It's creating something that's going to live long after you're around, that your children and grandchildren are going to be so grateful for. And I just one quick little story. I wasn't prepared for getting there. I'm blessed with this energy, but I didn't know I was going to have to use a walker. I didn't know I was not going to be able to play tennis, which was my love. There are a lot of things I didn't plan on that are part of me being there. And if I had known, so Rementos is not just for seniors to give to your grandparents, although it certainly is that. It's for people in their 30s or 40s or 50s. If they're starting to do their retirement planning, my suggestion is include in that your purpose will include creating a living legacy. You'll have more opportunity. You'll have more memories, more information, more what your life was about while you're living it. Your children and grandchildren will just love you for that.
Dr. Dan, what do you say to the people who hear what you're saying and they think to themselves, Dr. Dan, you've done amazing work and you certainly should be writing multiple books, but little old me, my life has not been one of consequence. I haven't written a book. I haven't been elected to office. I haven't invented something. Why would anyone care about the things that I would talk about within the context of a Remento book? What would you say to those folks?
That's a great question. It really is. It's why I came up with the idea to tell these seniors the best is yet to come. This is an opportunity. You don't have a lot of those other responsibilities you had when you were younger. You were raising children and having a job and all that stability. It's this opportunity to live your life more fully, which is what my book is about, living on purpose. But it's for anybody. The beauty of Rementos, as far as I'm concerned, is you don't have to be computer savvy. You don't have to be an expert. It's a high-tech approach to creating a legacy, but it's so simple. Anybody can do it. And as I said, if you don't think you're worth it, ask your children, ask your grandchildren. Would they really love to know what your life was like before they showed up? What the things you've learned, your experiences, the wisdom that you have? Believe me, they want to know. So don't use the excuse, well, I just don't know how. I'm not good with a computer, blah, 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 blah. There's even classes, I understand, that Remento has created, I think, in conjunction with AARP to help people who say, I don't have the computer savvy to do this. That's not going to be a good excuse now that Rementos is here. Just nobody should say, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. Ask your children, ask your grandchildren. That will change your mind. They want to know. My son wanted to know, and that's why he gave it to me. And I love him for that. It's given me a sense that expands my sense of my purpose. It reminds me, I digress a little. I don't know if any of y'all saw the movie The Accountant. I generally, when I see a movie, I get up and start to leave when the credits are falling up. Well, there was a movie called The Accountant about this autistic guy who was also, hired for murder. But as I walked out of the movie, the credits are playing, and this incredible guy by the name of Sean Rowe starts singing this song, I Just Want to Leave Something Behind. I stopped. I wait. I've been listening to that song so many times. And Remento, for any of you who have the faintest notion of you want to leave something behind, listen to that song, Sean Rowe. Listen to that song, and I swear you will want to leave something behind. And Remento is a sophisticated, high-tech technology way to do that. That's really simple.
Dr. Den, I appreciate you saying all of that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I love what you shared also around wishing that you had this of your own parents. And that's something that we hear from a lot of our storytellers who come to realize that this is actually not something that they're doing as an act of vanity. It's not actually about their own stories. It's about passing that information on to their kids and to their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren in the same way that each of us would be so grateful to have that of our own parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents.
You're making me cry, and that's okay, because I really wish I had that information about my grandparents. I really do. I wish I had that information from my parents because they're not here anymore. It's too late, but it's not too late for me. And I'm just grateful that my son has given me this opportunity and that he found Remento. It's it's become a blessing in my life that, as I said, it gives me this sense about I really matter. People care. And what I'm going to share is going to live long after me. I think everybody should create a living legacy. And it's never too soon to start. Give it a gift to somebody. If you're young and your grandparents mean something to you and they're still alive, give them the gift. I'm not trying to be a commercial here. I'm just telling you, as someone who truly is grateful for having been given this gift and allowed me, the first in my generation, to leave something behind that matters. That's what I'm doing. I'm leaving something of me, who I am, who I was, what I learned. I'm leaving it behind.
And thank goodness you are. It's something that your son and your extended family will always be grateful for. As you think about the things that you are sharing as part of this journey that you're on, almost 100 stories. The last time we talked, Dan, I had clocked that you were at 85. You've been recording fast since we last chatted. As you think about the stories that you've reflected on, I'd love for you to share with our audience, how have you decided what you want to record as part of this process? How have you decided what are the kinds of things that ought to be a part of this living legacy that you're creating?
It's a great question, and you shared some of that when you were going over how it works. The good news is Remento gives you lots of prompts, hundreds of prompts. It's like people learning, AI now and how important the prompts are. Well, there are libraries full of prompts that work. And Remento has been thoughtful enough to create a library of them. So you don't start from scratch. They give you ideas because I didn't know what to make of it when I first got it. And my son just kicked in prompts. He's asking me to answer some questions that he has that he'd like me to know. Like how did you meet my mom? Things like that. So you're not alone. You have plenty of resources available. And for me, as I started using some of them, because they're great questions, it revitalized me. It started giving me ideas. I started having fun creating my own prompts, which is what I do mostly now. I'm going to go back and put in a lot more photographs because the pictures speak also. But this is what I've told some friends of mine too. It's not the same as a scrapbook or all the. I've got Kodachrome slides that if you watched them, you'd say, well, where was that? What was that? I'm not going to be around to narrate those slides. So this is so much more powerful. It's more than just the pictures in a scrapbook. It's that with you there talking about that picture, say, hey, guess what? You know, one of my, I'll give you an example of one of mine. The title is The Smell of Fresh Bread and Donuts in the Morning. You know what that is? That's the story of me at 11 years old with my first job with a paper route. And I got up every morning at 4:00 to deliver papers to over 100 people in the morning as well as the afternoon. And guess where they delivered my papers to fold? Carl's Bakery. Do you have any idea what a bakery smells like at 4:00 in the morning? Fresh bread and donuts. That's the kind of story you can tell. It excites me just to remember it. That's the other thing that's going on for me is it's not forcing me, but it's giving me this opportunity to relive a lot of the things that matter to me that I'm learning in the process of, gosh, and it's so much fun making a permanent version of it. But it's allowing me to remember stuff like that story I just told you. There's hundreds of them available. And to know that it's going to become a book with access to the videos, it's remarkable, and it's a gift. That's all I can say.
One of the things I love, Dr. Dan, about the story that you just shared about these donuts and the smell of donuts is that some of the best stories, some of the most love stories from families are not answers to big overarching questions about what was the biggest lesson of your life or the most important thing that was taught for you or the moment where you overcame the most. There can be these really beautiful vignettes of a specific moment in your life that can actually teach people who have the chance to listen to them a lot about who you are, but without you needing to feel like you have to summarize these massive themes or lessons or values or wisdom throughout your entire life.
Exactly. It's a way to be yourself and be natural. The prompts can help you. But when I think about the ones that I'm going to make and have already made about my grandchildren, because they're going to be in it too with their pictures, I'm going to say things about them and how I feel and who they are and have been to me that may surprise them. I'm blessed with creativity, I guess, because the prompts, whether they're from Remento or ones I create, have stimulated another creative opportunity for me that really, really matters. And it's so, so easy. It really is. Even I can do it.
Dr. Dan, it's been so wonderful having you with us today. I've got one more question before we move into the question and answer part of our webinar today.
Sure.
My last question for you is, we've got a variety of people who are on this call today. Some people are thinking about buying Remento for a parent. Some may be thinking about buying the product for themselves. But we know we also have a lot of storytellers on Remento, some of which maybe haven't actually recorded their first story yet. And so for someone who's sitting on our webinar today, who's thinking to themselves, I know I should record my first story, but I just haven't done it yet. I wonder what advice you have for them.
Well, number one, if you're still making excuses and want to contact me, they'll probably provide that information. I'm more than willing to answer those excuses because that's all they are. It's one of those things that, like the saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. Whatever excuses, whatever procrastination deal that comes up for you, just let it go. Let it go. Stop and think, wow, does it really make a difference for me? Is it going to make me feel better about who I am and know that I'm fulfilling part of my purpose, that my life has meaning that I didn't even think about? Ask yourself those questions. What matters more than anything? That your children and grandchildren know more about who you were and how you lived and what really matters, including them. I well, this is just me, but I can't imagine anybody holding out with their excuse or their procrastination. I'd be more than happy to talk to them and say, you're making a big mistake. Sean Rowe was right when he was divinely inspired to write that song. I just want to leave something behind. Think about it that way. Do you want to leave something behind? This is, as far as I know, there's other stuff out there. But if you've been collecting hundreds of photographs, Kodachromes, if you've been creating scrapbooks, think of this. You pass the scrapbooks on to your children and grandchildren. They open up all the pictures. Well, what's the story to go with that picture? Nobody's there to tell them. This allows you to tell the story live. You can't answer questions, but you can tell the story live. And you'll find, believe me, you'll find that you make a difference. And it's a difference that your children and grandchildren and future generations will be eternally grateful for.
Dr. Dan, thank you so much for that and for being with us today, everyone. The book is called The Living Legacy, Living with Purpose.
So this is Living with Purpose.
Dr. Dan is holding it right up there. You can Google Living with Purpose and it'll bring you to Dr. Dan has a wonderful website. You can order your own copy. We'll also include a link of the book. Dr. Dan, thank you so much for being with us today. It was our pleasure to have you here.
Well, it was an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. And my gratitude is just overflowing. Thank you so much. If you want me to stay around and answer some of the questions, I will, or I'll just watch.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much again for being with us. We will, with that being said, we can go ahead and transition over to the Q&A portion of our webinar today. And I want to share with everyone exactly how you can add questions. You'll see that on the right side of your screen, there'll be an option to add your questions by typing on where it says post a message. So either add your own questions or you can upvote other questions. And we're going to be responding to questions based on the number of upvotes that there are posted. So the questions with the most upvotes will be the ones that we respond to first. Also, please know that at the top of the chat, there's a link pinned for you to share your feedback about the webinar. And if you do, you'll be entered into a chance to win a free book credit. And so with that, I'd love to start by taking some questions. And so our first question is going to come from Andy. And Andy's asking, can I invite my sister as a collaborator and record a story for our mom? The answer is yes, Andy. Thank you. Great question. You can invite as many people as you want to the account as collaborators. And if you want, you can actually record a story as if you were your mom, basically impersonating your mom, and have it be saved right next to all of her stories. You could also go be with your mom and record one of her stories by sitting with her and holding the phone, and maybe if that's what you meant. But yes, this is definitely possible. It's a great question. Cindy says, how does the QR code work? Does it expire? So our QR codes, you'll see, are printed directly into the Remento books, and they have access right at the top to the recording that was used to write the story. So in this case, if I scan this QR code, it's going to bring me right to the recording of my mom talking about this photo. And the answer is no, the QR codes do not expire, and there is not a subscription that's required to maintain access. Charlene is saying, I have some recordings of a relative who now has Alzheimer's. Sorry to hear about that, Charlene. And you're asking, can I upload those recordings? At the moment, we're not able to upload existing recordings into Remento, but that is something that's on our product roadmap, and we hope to be able to accommodate that in the future. The way that you can do that, and some of our customers have done in the past, is by holding up their phone and just recording the actual recording the recording, you could say, but it's not something that we fully endorse or recommend because the quality is not going to be as great. But that's on our roadmap. Mary Lou is saying, so the book has the photos and the story, and you access the videos with a smartphone. You nailed it. That's exactly right. That's perfect, and hopefully the previous answer shed some light on that question. So yes. Paige is saying, can we use this webinar as a resource? Is it available to download? Paige, the answer to this question is it will be available as a resource. We'll be sending the recording of this webinar around. It'll be available via link. It'll be a YouTube link. And so I'm not sure that you'll be able to easily download it from YouTube, but you'll be able to access the recording through the link itself and share it with whoever you'd like. Anna is saying, if I choose not to renew, will I lose access to the stories? Anna, the answer is no, you won't lose access to the stories. When you buy Remento, you're buying a year's worth of recording, as many stories as you want, and a credit for a hardcover book. If at the end of the year you want more time, you can extend your subscription to be able to continue recording stories. But if at the end of the year you don't need more time to record more stories, you can access your stories without needing to pay us another $1. Betty is asking, is there a limit to the number of pages in a book? Yes, there is. Our standard books are 200 pages. And if you are willing to pay us another $30, you can print between 201 to 380 pages. So our books go up to 380 pages. Very few people have ever gotten to 380 pages. For a book that's printed kind of in this kind of quality, that's a really large book. And again, the pages include more text than kind of your average smaller book. And so that's a lot of content in there. Joey is asking, what happens after the first year subscription and how much is the physical book? So our physical books retail for $69 and you can buy as many copies as you want. We occasionally run promotions, like when you first buy, there's a discount on pre-purchasing these book credits. And then at the end of the first year, if you want more time to record new stories, you can extend your subscription. And if you're happy with the stories that you have recorded, you won't need to. Bonnie says, I've been working on my book for months now, and I focus all the positive events in my life. What do you think about the documenting some of the sad or difficult times that impacted my life? Bonnie, this is such a wonderful question. And if you weren't available for our last webinar, I'd recommend you looking it up. We had Bruce Feiler, who's a New York Times winning 7-time New York Times bestselling author. And he's done a lot of reporting on some research that has been done over the years about the benefits of storytelling to families, and specifically intergenerational storytelling. And what all of the research shows is that as wonderful it is to share the happy moments with your families, families and children specifically that understand that their parents and their grandparents overcame challenges, that resilience runs in their genes, those kids tested better on all measures associated with self-esteem, with resilience, with the ability to overcome obstacles that they face in their own lives. And so what Bruce Feiler would tell you is, if you love your kids, don't shy away from the difficult moments, because whether it's now or 20 years from now, they're going to be able to learn from those moments, and they're going to be important for them to do so. So Bonnie, I love the question. I think if you're comfortable sharing, it's something that will be important to your family. Amy is asking, what is the limit on the number of stories or pages per book? No limit on the number of stories, but our books go up to 380 pages. And so that is the upper limit. If you have more stories than you can fit in 380, you'd be one of the few customers that we have that does, but we encourage you to print those stories over 2 different volumes of your book, and we make that really easy to do. Diane is saying, I have video recorded 5 stories with 1 picture prompt each. I want to combine the pictures and stories written into 1 story with the 5 pictures and the 5 recordings. Is there a way to do that, or do I have to re-record? Yeah, you'll have to re-record. Right now, the way we set it up is 1 prompt equals 1 chapter. And so we don't have a way of being able to combine chapters. What you can do after you do a single recording is to add on to that 1 story. So you can have multiple recordings per story, which is a chapter, but we can't take multiple chapters that exist across multiple stories and merge them together. I'm sorry about that. Sarah is saying, is there a way to download all my recordings at once? Yeah, we do have the ability to do that. I think right now the way to do that is to email our customer support team, support@remento.co, and we can take care of that for you. Deborah is asking, saying, our son bought us a Remento subscription a few months ago. I've not recorded yet, and I hope it's not expiring. May I record lots to catch up? Thank you for the amazing concept. Well, thank you for saying that, Deborah. The answer is that your subscription for 1 year started on the day that your son gifted you Remento. So if it was a couple months ago, it sounds like you have, if it was 2 or 3 months ago, you still have 9 or so months left. And so that's plenty of time to be able to record a significant number of your stories. Some people record 1 question or 1 prompt a week. Some will record 4 or 5 a week. And so if you're trying to catch up, you could, record a couple per week if you'd like. And then at the end of the year, if you realize you do want a little bit more time, you can just extend your subscription either for another month or for another year to be able to have a little bit more time. And so a lot of our storytellers do want more than a year so they don't feel rushed. And again, it doesn't have to be the case that you are doing all of the stories from your life within the course of a single year. That I think for some folks feels intimidating, and so more time feels better. Thank you for the question, Deborah. John is saying, does Remento use AI to help create historical video context for reference where photos are not available? John, I love this idea so much. We do not do this right now, but we'd love to. We do know that some of our customers will use AI outside of Remento to generate photos based on things that they are describing that they don't have access to real photos of, but not something that we're currently doing. We're really careful with the way that we use AI with our company. We always want to make sure that AI is being used in a way that is helping people tell more of the truth and embellish the things that have actually happened. And so there's a role for AI to be able to create historical context for sure. That's something that we'll be building in the future. For right now, the way AI is used in our product is specifically around making prompts that feel more personal and helping turn someone's spoken words into polished written text. Thanks for the question, John. Harry is saying, what if I need several years to complete my recordings? Harry, no problem. We have a lot of people. We have several people who have been subscribed to Remento for multiple years. You can just continue your subscription and you can record your stories for multiple years. There's absolutely no rush. And a lot of our customers, frankly, will tell us at the end of their first year, even if they've created their book already, I have more stories that I want to create, more stories that I want to capture. And so I'd like to have a second book to be able to document those stories. And I'll work on that during my second year. And so no limit to the number of books you can create, no limit to the amount of time that you can have. Thank you for the great question, Harry. Angela is saying, where are the stories stored given the QR doesn't expire? Angela, stories are saved within your private Remento account. Everything is encrypted through Google's authentication, and so it's as safe as your email. And so they're saved in the Remento servers. And if at any point you download the content directly to your device and you decide that you don't want that content saved in Remento, we're happy to go ahead and wipe it for you. When we do, it will remove the connection between your content and the QR codes. And so it's the reason why most people like the fact that we're willing to host your content on your behalf at no additional cost to you beyond the first year. Beverly is saying, I want to include some written stories from my husband, but couldn't find anywhere to upload a document. So I took a screenshot of the stories and uploaded them. I received a message back that they had poor resolution. I need to take each screenshot to be one complete page. I think that would be the care resolution, but not sure. Can the document be uploaded? So Beverly, the way that you can, I think the approach that you took is correct, which is to take a photo of that document and then upload that photo into the book. And that way the document will appear as a photo right at the start of the chapter. And uploading letters is a great use case. We've heard people do that and we absolutely love it. In the case of poor resolution, it probably means that you were taking a photo using a device that maybe didn't have a high enough resolution for it to be printed in full resolution. We share that warning with you just so you know that it might not be perfectly clear in the book. It doesn't mean you can't print it, it's just a warning. And so it's best to use like a newer phone that has a higher resolution so that the image is really sharp. But if you don't have one available, it's completely fine. You can still print that in the book. It just may not be as kind of pixel perfect as if you had a higher quality image. Angela is saying, when you invite others to ask a question, does that automatically make them a collaborator that allows them to make changes, or can they contribute without editing controls? Angela, right now we basically have one permission, which is being able to make changes to the product, to be able to add questions, to be able to make changes. And so right now, when you add a collaborator, they can basically do just about anything. They can add questions, they can add photos, they can make edits. And so that one collaborator can do all of those things. We do have the ability to send a single story as what we call a view-only link. So you can click share on an individual story and just share that story with someone. And that's going to give them non-collaborator access. It means they can just look at it, enjoy it. They can't do things like send a reaction or add a question or add a photo to it. I hope that answers your question. Roberta saying, my grandkids gave me as a gift. If it is expired, can I renew it? Roberta, congratulations on being a Remento storyteller. Yes, you can absolutely renew it. That's no problem. If it's been more than a year since they gave it to you, you can just reach out to our team, support@remento.co, or just respond to any of the emails that we've sent to you and just say you're interested in renewing the account, and we can take care of that for you. No problem. Paige is saying, can you reorganize the chapters after they've been recorded to put them into historical order? Yes, 100% Paige. And I went through how you can do that earlier when I did the demo. You can just drag and drop those stories and reorder them in whatever order you like. That's very easy to do. Can I still order my book even if my account has already expired since last Christmas? Yes, you can. You absolutely can, Jimmy. You can order your book. You can order your book. You're not going to be able to make meaningful adjustments to the actual content that exists in those chapters. But if you're ready to just order a copy of your book, you can do that. And then if all you need to do is make a few changes, we do have a monthly option for $12 a month that you can subscribe just for a short period of time to be able to have access to make those changes, record new stories if you want, and then you can just turn off that subscription afterwards. Mark is saying, are your answers to AI prompts kept private to your company and not shared with third-party companies? That's correct, Mark. Yes, we anonymize all the data when we send it to our third-party AI servers. And so the answers that you give are anonymized and not connected with you and your data specifically. And so privacy is the most important thing at Remento. From our perspective, it's our number one pillar. And we spend a lot of time making sure that your data is never going to be shared with anyone in a way that can be tracked to you in a way that doesn't meet our standards. Melissa is saying, can I transfer an unused account to myself? My husband doesn't want to do it. This is one of those cases where it makes the most sense to reach out to our customer support team. Again, support@remento.co. And Melissa, our team will hear kind of the context of your situation. We'll be happy to support you. Vanita is saying, will this video be accessible after today? I joined late. Yes, Vanita, glad to have you. We are going to make a version of this accessible via YouTube, and we'll share that out to our community later this week. Barbara is saying, I've received Remento as a gift approximately 18 months ago, but I've not used it yet. Is it still an option to use? Yeah, Barbara, your 1 year at this point would have expired. And so you'll just need to reactivate your account, which will mean you'll be purchasing a 1 year subscription going forward. But the good news is you already have that book credit. And so that $69 book credit is in your account and that piece does not expire. And so if you're interested in reactivating, you can just log into Remento and either reactivate your account, or you can reach out to our support team, support@remento.co, and we'll go ahead and get your account reactivated for you. I just placed my book order. How long does it take for me to receive the book? Hey, Dale, congratulations. You're a Remento storyteller with a book. That's amazing. It generally takes about a week and a half. It depends on the time of year. July is not a particularly busy time for our printing partners. And so you probably have your book this time next week, maybe a week and a half. Marilyn, I went back into my stories and edited the text. Can I re-record the stories so they match the texts? Marilyn, that's an interesting question. Technically, you can do that, but what you would need to do is take the text and just copy it into something like a Word document and then read the text that way and then copy that text back into the new version. The reason why that is a little bit cumbersome is because most of our storytellers are not reading our text verbatim. For the vast majority of our storytellers, they're speaking extemporaneously about moments and memories and values and wisdom and whatever the topic is. And then the text is being generated, but normally it's not a one-to-one match, and it doesn't have to be. And so if you really want to be able to have it be one-to-one, then you're going to have to do a little bit of a sidestep to get there. P, if I want multiple pictures with a story, how big are the pictures and how many pages can be dedicated to those pictures? So what we do, P, is if you add multiple photos to your book, what we'll do is we'll print the first photo that you upload, that you select as what's called a primary photo, right under the title and the QR code. And then if you have multiple photos, what we'll do is we'll have the text here. And then at the end of the story, we'll print 2 photos per page after that. And so they'll appear in the order that they've been added or reordered, if you'd like. And so they'll all be in your book. And again, there's no limit to the number of pictures that you can add either per chapter or per book, as long as you're within the 380 page maximum. Richard is saying, must I always use my phone or maybe iPad? Yeah, Richard, good news for you. You can use a phone. You can use an iPad. You can use a computer. We say at Remento, if it's got a camera, a microphone, and an internet connection, you can use it, and there are no apps, no downloads, no passwords. I actually like using an iPad because the device is a little bit bigger, the camera is really strong, and you can kind of set it up in a way that sometimes a phone is a little bit harder to. So yes, please, Richard, use your iPad. Ooh, Carolyn, is each story A separated? I'll answer what I think maybe you're questioning, which is each of the stories that I'm recording equivalent to a chapter in the book? The answer is yes. Every story is a response to a prompt, and the combination of the prompt and the story turns into a chapter in the book, and each of those chapters has that QR code that links back to that recording. And so it's kind of a one-to-one-to-one right there. I hope that answers your question. Please let me know if it doesn't. Angela is saying, do we have a business plan in place that addresses clients if your company sells or goes out of business? What happens to the data on servers to both customers who own and those in the process of building stories? Angela, you are asking such great questions. Thank you for asking. I wonder if you're maybe an attorney or a lawyer. So we care deeply about this issue. At the end of the day, your stories, your memories, your family's memories are way, way too important to ever be at risk from a single company. And so everything on Remento can be downloaded at any time. And we recommend that families do that because at the end of the day, it's important to have things backed up. It's the reason why I have all my family's content backed up on both Google and also on a hard drive, because I can't trust Google to always have my content forever, because we live in a time of uncertainty about what the future is. That's the basis of technology. And so, Angela, our commitment is that for as long as we're around, we're always going to make sure that our customer data is available to our customers, that it's available for backup. And our commitment to you is that if for whatever reason that changes, if the company goes out of business or sells, you can know that we'll always make sure that the data is available to you to download so that you can have it in whatever way you want. Are there copyright issues? Sound, music, and text. Legally, we're not allowed to incorporate content that doesn't have copyright permission. So technically, you're only allowed to upload content into Remento that you have the legal rights to. And so our recommendation is to focus on including content in your Remento book that is stuff that you have permission to include. But at the end of the day, you're not selling these books. It's used for personal use, personal consumption. And so you can please use your judgment with whatever you think is fair. But much like a scrapbook that you'd be creating on Shutterfly or Snapfish, you can upload what you like and what is actually most meaningful to you. Janet is saying, can I include answers to several questions under one prompt? You absolutely can, yes. Our prompts do have a limit in terms of the number of characters, but we have people who respond to multiple questions within the span of 30 minutes of talking. And so, Janet, yeah, that's absolutely possible. You can do that. Ellen is saying, why can't you edit in preview book? Can you edit in preview book instead of going back to book builder? Why can't you edit in preview book instead of going back to book? Ellen, I am not exactly sure what you're talking about specifically, but let me follow up with you over email. I'll have our product team send you an email so we can understand exactly what you're talking about. It sounds like maybe there's a part of the book building process that's a little frustrating, and that's really important for our product team to know about. So let me have our product team reach out to you about this to understand exactly what feedback you're sharing here and see if there's something we can do about it. Darlene, welcome. Glad to have you. Yes, there will be a recording, and we will be sharing it via link through our email later this week. It sounds like that's the end of the questions that we have. I want to just reiterate my thanks to every single person who joined us today. I'm going to go ahead and share on the screen that there is a link pinned for you to be able to share feedback at the webinar. This feedback is so incredibly important to us. It allows us to make this webinar better, more personalized, and more meaningful to all of you. It also gives you, as our audience, a chance to win one of the book credits that we'll make available to people who fill out the feedback form. On behalf of our entire team at Remento, I just want to reiterate my appreciation for you all joining us. We are here doing what we do because of all of you. Our goal is to record as many stories as possible, and none of that would be possible if we didn't have the amazing community that we do at Remento. So on behalf of our entire team, thank you for being with us today, and happy storytelling to you all. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone.